everyone, welcome back to Star Trek Convention. I am your unofficial host, Heather Ferris, and we are here at STLV 2019. Now, I'm here with Fred and Rocky, and we're going to be watching the panel together, and then we are going to have some commentary for you at the very end of it, so please join me. We have Chekhov today.
Gotta love it. Oh yeah.
Gotta love it. So please watch, please enjoy, and join us at the end for our commentary.
So, I'm here, and I'm so happy to be here. You know, I started with creation 30 years ago, and it's so nice to be back. The whole culture has changed so much in the last 35, 40 years, and the pop culture in particular. And I go to places now where I'm signing next to 17-year-old kids who do voiceovers and win electronic games. They're champions and they're signing autographs. That's great. I mean, you know, that's today. But I am the quintessential cliche of the old guy who's having trouble adapting to with all the progress that goes on.
Of course, he doesn't look old, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I know that I'm among friends when I come to creation.
Walter, you're going to be pretty much flying solo today, but before you begin, I just want to say, I don't know if you realize, we have an anniversary today. This is the 40th anniversary of Walter doing creation events. 1979. And 40 years later, I'm here to testify this is one of the nicest, sweetest, most reliable, down-to-earth, wonderful guys you might ever meet. We love you, Walter, and it's been an honor and a pleasure all these years.
Well, so rather than try to anticipate what you might have on your mind, we'll throw it open to questions and I'll deal with it as best I can.
Coming up to our mics, folks. Can we get lights on the microphones, please?
Hello.
Yes.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Fantastic. My name is Louis. Good to meet you, Walter.
Thank you, Louis.
I'm a big admirer of your work. I mean, I grew up on the original series, and in high school, I started, and this may be uncouth, but I started watching Babylon 5. And, oh, thank you. So I'm curious, what, and it's okay, like, let's just pretend I'm not here. You can tell me, was it more fun to play Bester or Chekhov?
Chekhov paid for.
Well, let me put it this way. I'm going to sound like one of the Democratic candidates, although I vote for any of them. I vote for any of them. But you know, the way they don't answer yes or no questions, they circumvent them, as all politicians do. I owe Star Trek my career, obviously. You know, when Roddenberry called us in '69 and said, well, it's been nice working with you. That's it, you know, goodbye, have a good life. I thought that was it. I didn't know it would be the rest of my life. It would always be there. So I'm extraordinarily grateful for that opportunity and to the people that I met. The fans, to be sure, but I've also, over the course of all these years, met a lot of the cast members from the other series, and I've grown to really like them. They're good people. I can recommend them, you know, and I would start naming them, but I'm sure I would leave some out, and then I'd feel terrible. But you know, you're lucky to have people that you support who are justifiably good people, and if you never get to know them, you know, personally, you can take my word that that's the case. But having said that, Babylon 5 was the most aesthetically challenging and satisfying experience that I've had. I love playing that character. And I don't know if you know it, but if Crusade had gone on, I would have been on that too. I was in the 13th episode, and it was canceled after 12. So I never got to do that. But while we're there, and it's off the subject, but I think I've already answered the subject, so that's always a trap. I sometimes start to digress, and then I forgot where the hell I was. But if you liked Babylon 5, if you supported that show, if you thought that the series was well acted and well written, you've got to get a new book called Becoming Superman, which is the autobiography of J. Michael Straczynski, and it's an amazing book. You know, I'm tempted to fall into hyperbole in describing it because it is such an extraordinary tone. It's horrific, and it's in the beginning, and then terribly inspirational by the time you get to the end. And it's a true story. That's the bizarre thing. It's absolutely true. So that's my one generosity for the morning, pitching somebody else's work.
All right, we go over to the other side?
Thank you.
Walter.
Thank you.
Okay.
Over to the other side.
Hi.
Hi.
Now, I always want to say you're one of my favorite performers on the original Star Trek. It's my favorite Star Trek show. But I would love to know about your work with another one of my favorite genre actors, and that's Bruce Campbell in the movie Moontrap.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you had any stories about shooting that movie or working with him in particular.
Well, we had a great time. He was very nice. We got along terrifically. As a sign of the times, when the DVD came out originally, it was Moontrap starring Walter Koenig and Bruce Campbell. On the reissue, it's Moontrap starring Bruce Campbell. I've run into him a few times. In fact, we were in Spain together and a huge awards ceremony, a fantasy film convention. We received awards there. And he's still the same guy, you know, great guy. It was lovely seeing him. I don't have anything specific to say about that experience, other than he took me to a hockey game in Detroit, and I think they won. And he's a big hockey fan. But other than that, yeah, you know, it's one of the nice things when somebody mentions a name and I have only warm feelings about it. So, yeah, Bruce is a great guy.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Hello, Walter.
Yes.
I'm going to try to keep this question as brief as possible. I hope I succeed. I'm sorry if I don't. But it was back in 1993. One of the writers of Star Trek The Next Generation was crafting a Chekhov story where you would be reprising your role as Chekhov, a much older one, as the same in Renegades, but you would be returning from a prisoner of war from a planet where you were imprisoned for many years and finally released. Now you're an ambassador helping the Federation open up diplomatic relations with the planet, like Vietnam. The story was going to be about Worf, Lieutenant Worf, Klingon played by Michael Dorn, and Chekhov, because Worf's foster parents are Russian. And then Worf has heard about him and they kind of strike up a relationship together. And then throughout the course of the negotiations with the planet, it appears as though Chekhov is sabotaging them because he wants to lay waste to their capital for revenge and screw things up for the Federation because he feels that the Federation abandoned him. And so I was curious to know what your reaction would have been if they'd offered you this particular script back in 1993.
I would have jumped at it. This is the first time I've ever heard this. I did meet with one of the writer-producers on the show. We went out to lunch together because they were talking about how they were so successful with having Jimmy Doohan on the show that they thought they would expand that concept and bring back somebody else. So I met with him and we couldn't come up with anything. And then they said, well, we'll bring you in, and we'll meet with all the writers and the producers, and we'll come up with an idea for you. So, this is a little known fact. So I came in, and there were 13 or 14 people in the room, and they had pads, and they had pens, and we were all sitting in a circle 2 or 3 minutes into the meeting. They received a phone call from Berman, and they got up and they left. They all left. Now, what am I supposed to conclude from that? There was only a thing that I could conclude. Either I'm totally paranoid, which I'm not necessarily suggesting isn't true, but my feeling was that Berman said, I'm not there, there's no meeting. And that was the end of the story. I came up with an idea which involved Worf and the fact that my grandparents knew him, or the other way around. But I came up with it after the fact. And it was that Worf contracts some kind of disease where he's hallucinating. And he hallucinates Chekhov. Because onto the bridge, and I don't remember what the plot was, but that's how we got him on. Because they didn't want to go back in time. They didn't want to do one of those stories. And I thought this was a pretty sound idea, and I had it structured pretty well. But I never got a chance to propose that. But I would have done that one. That one sounds good.
My question is, what does Star Trek mean to you personally?
Okay, what it means to me personally, and it's been underscored by the circumstances under which we live today, and an administration that, I'm sorry, if you want to leave now, go ahead. An administration that is so reprehensible.
Technically, we don't discuss politics here at the show.
Okay. But it's hard not to in light of the circumstances that we're existing under. But so Star Trek, the message is there every week, regardless of whether the story deals with fraternity and humanity and a better world. The story is subliminally there every week when you see an African American and an Asian American and a Vulcan and a Russian, and they're all working together, and they're all working in community and care for each other. That's what Star Trek is about.
Was one of your parents branded as communists?
Yeah. My parents were commies. They came over from Russia when my father was about 12, and he was very, very outspoken. He wasn't subversive, but he was very outspoken. And we ended up on file with the FBI. And the FBI came to our apartment house and questioned the 48 other tenants in our building about us. And my dad, during the time of the HUAC, House of American Activities Committee, and the work they were doing in Hollywood, finding Reds among writers and making them confess or not confess. And McCarthy was interrogating the members of the State Department, one of the most heinous characters ever in American history. It was a scary period, and and as a consequence, I never became an activist. My father thought we were going to be put in a camp. I mean, they had done it to Japanese Americans. We were next. So it was a very impressionable period in my life, from about the age of 12 to 18. Once I went off to college and I went to Iowa, and there weren't any commies in Iowa, So I didn't have to worry about it anymore. But, incidentally, a brief commercial. I wrote an autobiography called Work Factors. An Erotic's Guide to the Universe. And it was well received, critically well received. And I've been approached by another publisher to republish with an addendum involving the last 21 years. So I've been working on that. And it's not going to be that long. It's going to be about, we'll republish the first volume, and then the second will probably be around 50 pages on the last 21 years of my life. And we're negotiating the title. What I want is beaming up and getting off. Now, I'm not sure they're going to go along with that. I think it's very appropriate, and we'll see how when the dust clears. Another question.
Mr. Koenig, hi, I'm Dwayne. Let's see, how do I phrase this? Did you realize that on a small lot in Los Angeles in the late 1960s, the impact that Star Trek would have? I consider myself a product of Star Trek. I got into aviation, I got into science, I got into space exploration as a result of Star Trek. So I joined the Air Force, flew fighters, and now I'm a commercial pilot. But all of that is really due to Star Trek, to tell you the truth. Did you realize at your time in the late 60s that you would, affect the lives of millions of people? I mean, you can't really put a price or a number on that, but did you realize when you were doing it that this sort of outcome would happen?
Well, the answer is that no one realized that. No one anticipated the shelf life of Star Trek and the original and the consequential series that followed it. It really is an extraordinary phenomenon. And I've always said that if I had to be identified with one project for all the years of my career, it would just as soon be Star Trek than anything else, because it was in many ways an ennobling, creative project. So certainly, I would have liked a more expansive career. I would have liked the opportunity to have done a lot more different roles than playing what was basically a two-dimensional character. But at the same time, I'm very proud of its success, and that I had a very, very small input into that success. It's an amazing thing, and each time we began again. Each time I thought that would be the last time. When we did the first movie, I was sure that was the last time. And when we did the third movie, I was sure that was the last time. Et cetera, ad infinitum, that we would not still be here. But I'm going to tell you a very personal feeling I have now. And this is the first time I've expressed it. I just came back from a very large convention in London, and there were a representative group of Star Trek fans, and they were particularly evident in the first day. But as the second and third day progressed, I realized that how fandom has spread out into so many different avenues and so many different branches, and that the significance of Star Trek is not the same to the general public as it had been, 20 years ago. And I'm beginning to feel that I'm no longer relevant. I don't feel that way when I come to Star Trek creation. But when I go to these other places and they're voiceover people and animation people, not that I disparage any of that, I think that's all great. But, the universe of fandom has expanded, and Whereas we were at one point, the focus. We are now treading on the margin, or at least I feel that I am. I don't think Bill would feel that way. But yeah, so that's something that I'm now thinking about, how much longer I am going to be making myself available for public appearances when I feel that I'm losing contact with the public. So I'm expressing that for the first time, and I'm thinking about my, the next year and the year after, and how much I'm going to continue to do this because of that. Not because I'm weary, but because I feel that when I step on stage, I'm welcoming people to the Antiques Roadshow.
But of course, the Creation Star Trek convention will be exempt from that rule.
Absolutely.
You've always tended to minimize your role in the series itself, and actually that's coming from a place of humility, okay, and maybe it might be true to some degree, but I would dare say that your amazing 40-plus year run as a person attending these events and bringing your love and your insight to the shows might be almost as important as your role itself, and has just amplified the legend of Star Trek and how much we love you, just based upon you making yourself.
I was hoping you were to run toward me. That would have been like a childhood dream. I know I wasn't the only girl of 10 years old that had a crush on you, so I just want to say, part of the charm was your wonderful accents. Oh my God. Could you say any line at all in that amazing accent? In your Pavel accent. Any line at all.
Any moment?
Any line of dialogue in the accent. Even a little one. Just
Talk in Russian.
please, just for a second.
For a second? Понимаете по-русски. That's the only words I know.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, another fan. I've been a fan of yours since I was 11 years old. I've grown up with you. I feel like you're my friend. And actually, I was going to ask you, how are you? But I think you pretty much in that last question, you answered it. But how are you?
Well, physically, I'm great. And we walk 20 to 30 minutes, we go out 20 to 30 minutes at night, and I have a flashlight, and we jog a block and walk a block, jog a block and walk a block. So I'm still doing that, and the only problem is that if I go down the street I don't know and there's an eruption in the cement, I sometimes go flying forward and I landed on my nose, and I was amazed that I didn't break my nose. And I just recovered from some heavy skin abrasions on my elbow. But he's great. He's unless he needs to pee, we have a very steady gait, and so it feels good. It feels good. My cardiologist told me that very recently, he says, who would have thought that 10 years ago that you'd be in the shape you are now? So that's, and I had a heart attack 24 years ago. So, no, that part feels good. It's just my, it's what I don't want to go repeat it again. But it's that whole emotional, personal thing. When you get old, you want to feel that you still have a place, and that you need to be positive and contribute. It's important to continue to contribute. Never retire. You know, it's not what it's cracked up to be.
So you'll always have a place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't really complain, Walter. You're still hot, and that's what counts.
Chekhov's been an inspiration for so many people, many of the characters you have been, but I was wondering, was there a particular actor or role or perhaps movie that inspired you to become an actor?
Oh. No, you know what inspired me to become an actor? First of all, I seem to have had a proclivity. I had an innate ability, whereas I could not find anything else in my life that I had an innate ability for. It was one of those things where I went to an accelerated private school, academically accelerated, and I had a tough time keeping up, particularly in physical sciences. But I was cast in my sophomore year, and as a consequence of that, and a consequence of feeling somewhat intimidated by my classmates, I was withdrawn, and I was socially pretty backward. But it was one of those kind of classical situations where they were casting the school play, and they hadn't had one before that, and I was cast in the lead role in the play Peer Gynt, and all of a sudden, not only did I feel totally at home, but I felt a potency, a power that I didn't feel in my real life. When walking, you know, with the other students, I felt very good about myself. And the response was quite amazing. And all of a sudden, my fellow students, it was a private school that went from 7th grade through 12th, and everybody wanted to be my friend. I understood. I mean, I was insightful enough to understand that this was temporary. This was only while the play lasted. But I saw what it could be, and I said, well, this is really good. There's something I can do, something that people respond well to. But I tucked it so far away in the back of my head that I continued on the course that I had begun, and that was, I was going to go to medical school, I thought, and I was going to become a psychiatrist. And after I transferred from the school in Iowa to UCLA in Los Angeles, I took one acting class on a lark because I needed something, you know, it was more just fun to do. And I ended up having an instructor who was extremely enthusiastic about me, and my father had passed away, and he was sort of an adult counselor, and recommended that I give it a shot. I wasn't married, I had no kids. He says, well, you have responsibilities to nobody but yourself. And he sent a letter to the neighborhood playhouse, a drama school in New York, and on that basis, I was accepted. And that's that story. That's
Good morning.
Good morning.
I imagine back in the 1960s that Russian characters and caricatures on TV shows and movies weren't portrayed in the most positive light.
Right.
Now, Chekhov being a definite exception, I just wonder at what point did you find out that, or indeed if there was any positive impact you were having on Russian audiences and Russian youth that they were watching this show? And have you, do you have a fan base that loves the Chekhov character from Russia and the Eastern European area?
Well, you're under misapprehension. The Russian audiences weren't watching our show. There was the Iron Curtain, and we were country non grata, and Russian people were not exposed to Star Trek. That's all a fabrication. That's all PR from NBC.
So that Pravda article that was brought
Yeah, that's nonsense. I was brought on Star Trek because they thought I might have the same appeal as Davy Jones of the Monkees. And as it turned out, that was my audience. you know, the lined paper and pencil set. You know, those are, and they thought I was groovy. So that whole thing was publicity from NBC that wasn't accurate. I never got any mail that was antagonistic in general, and specifically about playing a Russian character. He was young, and he wasn't the threat, you know. It would be hard to interpret this character as being invasive and being in some way corrupting of our society. So I never had to deal with that.
Thank you very much.
In the era since the Iron Curtain went down, and now it's more of a global culture, had you subsequently learned that there was any impact on Russian people from your having a Russian character, or was it just completely go over their heads? Or
no, that's an interesting question, and there's a very ironic answer to it. I went to Russia. I was invited by a fan club. But it wasn't the Star Trek fan club. It was a Babylon 5 fan club. Babylon 5 screened in prime time. Star Trek screened at 2 a.m. in the morning. So all these folks were all dressed as Psychor, and my wife and I went, and they were very generous. They were very sweet. It reminded me of the Star Trek fans 35, 40 years ago. They dressed in costume. They had contests, costume contests. They sang songs, and they created little skits. And it was a very modest kind of convention. But you know, the chances are, if you were a Babylon 5 fan, you were also a Star Trek fan. But they brought me in because of the part I played on Babylon 5. And I got to visit throughout Moscow and St. Petersburg, and found it really an amazing experience, because these are the places my father talked about, and that he had left. And he was, ideologically, he was so much a Russian commie. I mean, it was as I said, we were under investigation. So yeah, at that juncture, and at that time, which was about 7 or 8 years ago, before the crackdown really started, before they came out and said homosexuals are aberration and an aberrant species, and all of the really right wing, and it's curious, to use right wing and Russian in the same breath, but that's what the country has turned into. Yes?
Hi. Some of my earliest and fondest memories of Star Trek are from Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, particularly in light of the recent questions, the whole sequence of looking for the nuclear vessels in Alameda. And so I was just curious, as someone who loves that movie so much, if there's a favorite memory you have from that time frame in the filming of that movie.
Well, sure. That was the most fun I had on Star Trek. Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. I just thought, first of all, number one, we returned to making an important statement regarding the environment, and I appreciated that. We'd gotten away from that a little bit in some of the other films. We were talking about the extinction of whales, right? Yeah. And yeah, of course. And so I was very pleased that we were making an effort to be socially relevant, and I was proud of being part of that. I loved the investigation scene, the FBI investigation. I mean, that was a Chekhov scene. Not a Chekhov scene. And then there was a Chekhov theme, for Chekhov. He was running across the bridge in Russian music. And of course, that priceless moment, and I've been reminded of it so many times, when we had that scene out in the street, and I was asking people, please could you tell me where the nuclear whistles were. I love the work that Leonard built it, and the scene in the truck. That was hysterical. That was the best. It was sort of like Abbott and Costello, or the straight man and the comedian, and they pulled it off so beautifully. So yeah, that movie. When I read that film, I read Star Trek 3 and wasn't pleased, and got into a huge fight with Harv Bennett that lasted the entire length of our production, where we didn't talk to each other. And in fact, he threatened me. He told me that if I didn't accept the offer they made, it was a take it or leave it offer, which is not a legal term, but it has come to mean that if you leave it, you're not going to be involved in that show. And he gave me a take it or leave it, and I left it. And there's talk about Star Trek 3. I know I'm digressing, and I've got to be careful about this. So I left it, and then the next day they came back with another offer, which I really didn't think they would. I thought I was done with Star Trek at that point. But yeah, Star Trek 4, and see, and I have lost my train of thought, but Star Trek 4 was my best experience on Star Trek. The second would have been the one with Ricardo Montalban. He was a great guy, very much a gentleman and continental. He kissed all the ladies' hands, and yes, that was his real chest.
Hi, Walter. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name's Len. I wanted to ask you, many of us have seen the videos and the photos of you and the crew being there for the reveal of the Space Shuttle Enterprise. I'd just like to hear some of your thoughts about what it was like to be there for such a historic moment.
Well, and frankly, when people ask me, and it was I think it was as recently as last weekend, what's my most impactful moment in my entire life with Star Trek, it was the rollout. I remember I picked up DeForest and we went to Palmdale or wherever it was that it was taking place. We walked into a room with the other members of our cast, all of whom were there except for Bill, and journalists and photographers, and we had coffee and bagels, and I didn't really understand what this was going to be. I knew that there was going to be a rollout. What did that even mean? I wasn't sure. And then we were ushered outside, and there were these portable chairs that we were invited to sit in, and I saw the Air Force band, and suddenly the conductor waved his baton, and the band started up with the theme music from Star Trek as the shuttle turned a corner and came towards us. And on the nose was the title USS Enterprise. And that was chilling. I mean, it was just amazing feeling. We all stood up and cheered, everybody, the photographers, everybody stopped what they were doing. It was that first moment when I said to myself, my God, we represent more than just an entertainment. We have a no matter how bleak or remote or distant it might be, we have a contact with reality. We are in some way more than simply a television series. We represent something more, and that was very, very significant for me. I felt an importance that I had never had as an actor. I mean, people always come up and they pump your hand and they tell you how much they love you as an actor. But suddenly I felt like we were part of the world. We had, no matter how small, we were making a contribution to society in general. And that will always remain the most dynamic moment I ever had involving Star Trek.
Hi there. 2023, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt, you're still really relevant and still impacting people. Who was somebody that you worked with, like on the original series or the movies, that really impacted you long term? Or somebody who you either stayed in touch with, or I guess your favorite person to work with?
I heard the words, but I didn't put them together.
Who was your favorite person to work with, or the person who impacted you the most working on the original series or the movies?
Well, on Star Trek. Well, I really loved DeForest Kelley, Dr. McCoy. He was able to negotiate being one of the 3 stars and at the same time being one of us as well. And there was a real, very distinct line between us. We really did have a caste system on the show, and that was as a consequence of the time that we were doing the series. That's the way a lot of television series were. There were the stars and there were supporting players, and they were really separated. They were separated in the titles, they were separated in their importance to the show. And so we were a collection on one end of the spectrum, and Bill and Leonard and DeForest were on the other. But DeForest never had a problem being one of us as well. So I always appreciated that. I appreciated the fact that he had never lost his sense of equality, and this sense of being a team player. We're not going to go into Bill. Leonard's situation was different. Yes, he did not communicate very well with us, but he didn't communicate with anybody except Bill and DeForest, because he was always Spock. This is the method performance of all time. He was always Spock. Off camera, he was Spock. I never got to know Leonard. When I was interviewed for the documentary his son did, and I said I knew Spock better than I knew Leonard, and that's the way he conducted himself. And that's why I say, as good as the gentleman was who played Spock in the new features, he was playing the part. Leonard was the part. He did it enough to I knew that he was a very humanitarian-driven person, that he had done a lot of work in civil rights and human rights, and had a great respect for his fellow beings. When I had my Hollywood Walk of Fame star put down, I had asked him to be there, and he was quite ill at the time. And he said yes. Then he said no, he couldn't make it, and then he said yes again. And even in the shape that he was in, he came down to Hollywood and spoke on my behalf. So yeah, he was a really good person, and I'm sorry. I mean, I understand the way he worked, and I understand the way he performed, and it obviated a closer relationship. But I always respected him.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. We have run out of time.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
And we are back. What do you guys think about that? I hope you guys like the panel. Walter is always really wonderful. He is such a... He's here every single year. What did you guys think of
He's
that?
looking just as good as he ever does. And he's walking around, having fun, going back and forth. I always love how he's going back and forth and really stepping as close to the edge as possible to get to the question.
Oh, I would say, Pavel's always fun to see. He's, like you were saying, he always gets into the crowd, and
yeah,
it's always great to listen to him.
He's one of the very few original series actors where when he gets on, he is literally running back and forth on the stage. It's amazing, the stamina.
And he's getting up too, but he's still up and moving.
Exactly.
And he said he was exercising, right? Jogging
Yes.
and walking and jogging and walking. Yeah.
Oh my God, when he said that he trips and falls.
Oh.
I cringed.
Yeah.
I was just cringing like, no, don't fall.
Gotta be careful with those sidewalks. They can be dangerous.
Gee.
Yeah, because especially you get...
Falling's not so bad. It's the landing. It's the landing that hurts.
Right, exactly. Not good.
Bones can get a little bit more fragile as you get older. So yeah,
It's no
definitely
fun.
something to be careful with.
Yeah, definitely. And I also thought, I can't read my handwriting. That's
Uh-oh.
what I think.
Get the universal translator out.
Oh my God, yes, totally.
Yes. What does it
I love
say?
that.
It says gibberish. Okay.
It says total gibberish right there. So we're going to pass that.
Go to the next one.
Go to the next. So I thought it was interesting too.
That's a hallucination.
Oh, is that hallucination? Oh, yes.
What are we
Thank you
hallucinating
very
about?
much. Okay, he found out the word. He was able to read my handwriting.
Well, yeah, but what was it?
I was Heather's universal translator.
You really were. No, he was saying that they wanted to bring Chekhov back, but they didn't know how to bring Chekhov back into the other series. And they were saying the way that they could do it is have the characters hallucinate. And if they hallucinate, then they could bring Chekhov back and still have it work with the story.
Or maybe bring him back on the holodeck.
Yeah,
Was
or the
that-
holodeck or something.
Was
yeah.
that one of the questions where they asked, they kind of suggested a script idea at the same time? Is it? Yeah.
So it's more like a fan base.
Love the creativeness.
Yeah.
Love the creative. It's funny because it's sci-fi, so even if your characters, at the wrong time zone or they died or whatever, they'll come back.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Exactly. You got time travel, you got the mirror universe, you have so many things. Like they
We
could
could,
just...
have zombie Chekhov for of all things. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but
Zombie Chekhov! Next Walking Dead, you know what to do.
The walking trek.
Yeah,
there you
exactly,
go.
totally.
Well, you should put him in a red shirt. You wouldn't do that to Chekhov.
Don't do that to Chekhov. And then he started talking about politics, and they actually, they stopped to be about politics. No talking about politics this year, although a lot of actors did talk about politics.
Even Shatner kind of got into it at the end.
Really, almost every single one, not every single one. But a lot of people were trying to talk politics without talking politics because I guess creation said no politics.
It is interesting. I mean, the previous years when they went to politics, you could see people in the room start going, don't talk about politics. Come on, why are you doing this? I hate this. You got to remember, there's another half of us that just don't agree with what you're saying. You got to be nice to them.
Yeah.
So that's the hard thing about politics today is you're one or the other, or it's horrible.
Well, it's totally opposite of what Star Trek is.
Yeah.
We're inclusion. We include everyone.
Yeah, it does not have the original idea. Yeah.
Right.
People look at an issue and it's either one answer or the other answer.
Yeah.
There's no in between.
It's real tough,
tribalism.
and and today it's especially hard.
And then it nearly broke my heart when he was talking about how after 20, 30, 50 years, that kind of a thing, he didn't feel relevant anymore. I wanted to cry.
It hurts. It really does hurt because, you're still relevant.
I mean, he's one of the original cast members, and if it weren't for the original crew, we wouldn't have all these other Trek.
The other side of the equation, the Trek audience loves him. He's in love, but he's talking about if you get invited to other other shows, he doesn't feel as relevant at those shows.
Yeah, so he might stop going to the smaller shows, but he was saying he'd still come to this one.
Oh, yeah.
Because he felt included here, but not maybe at the other ones.
Right.
Yeah, that's a tough situation.
I did love about you get him to ask him to talk about nuclear vessels. I mean, get him to say nuclear vessels.
Nuclear vessels.
Near Alameda,
Totally.
That was a highlight. That was a good one. And
that's a classic scene.
And I love that he was talking about how he enjoyed that movie and he had his own theme. And I was like, I loved the soundtrack to Star Trek 4. and he had his own theme. How cool is that to have your own little
yeah.
theme in a movie? That's got to be awesome.
You're totally relevant. You're a legend. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Never lose the faith.
I also liked how he was talking about how basically what inspired him to be an actor, and how he couldn't really find anything else that he was good at except acting, and that's why he went into acting. I thought that was really, really interesting. What did you guys think about that?
Well, I think not only being good, but liking what you're doing or loving what you're doing is really important.
Yeah, he was going to go into the medical field. He went to study for the medical field, and then he ended up like acting his acting class so much, or his theater class so much, that's what he. And I was trying to think of him as a doctor.
Just think, maybe if things had been different, he might have been cast his bones.
I was just thinking.
Wow. Oh, wow.
And then I also thought it was very interesting too how they were saying that with Chekhov's, they were going for the Davy Jones audience.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
I thought that was really cute.
Bring in the young hotties. Entice everybody.
So technically, he was a young hottie on it, right?
He was.
Yeah.
Oh, he was getting the girls in the show.
Yep.
Oh man.
I mean, he looks exactly like one of the characters from the Monkees. Remember?
Yeah.
From that TV series.
I mean,
Same hair,
you see a Chekhov, protecting the gal in the red shirt, and like, I mean, come on. It was like, yeah, go Chekhov. You gotta love it.
And then, do you guys remember when he was talking about how he went to Russia?
Yes.
Right, but it wasn't for Star Trek because they don't
Line
watch.
5.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting, and I also liked how he talked about like who impacted you the most long term. Dr. McCoy.
I really wish I could have gotten into the conventions early enough to know, to hear DeForest Kelly, see what he was like off screen.
That would have been
That would have
awesome.
been
Because
awesome,
you love the guy on screen. You can only imagine what he was like off screen. And I know the older Trekkies know.
So that pretty much is what I have for the panel. Did you guys want to add anything to it before we ended this?
Just gotta love Walter, man.
You gotta love
he's the
Walter.
man.
And come on back next year, Walter.
Please, we love you. You are awesome. Well, thank you so much for watching. We really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching this comment. And we hope to see you on the next panel. But until then, join us. Resistance style.